Good morning, everybody. This is the Rabid Hedgehog, and this is going to be a update on Miss Belle here. Miss Belle has already traveled over the 1,000 mile mark, had her first service done, and everything is all peachy in the Rebels world right now. Now, Miss Belle was a blind purchase, as I mentioned last time. And at the time of that blind purchase, let me try to fix my camera here. Let's see, she had 1 literal mile. Actually, she was coming out of the crate. They put 1 mile on her after they took it out, and I started it and everything. And now she's got 1,035 miles on her. So she has been around the block a few times now. And she's pretty much well become my primary and daily commuter. So let me give you a little bit of why she came into being. So, as many of you have seen, I have been asking for a comparison between the TU250X and the SR400 from Yamaha. Well, I actually thought about buying the Yamaha SR400 as a replacement for the Z125 Pro, also known as P-Quad. So, I was actually at the dealership and getting everything going, and I kind of started looking around, and you know what? I found this bike, and it was cheaper because it was a leftover 2017. And to be honest, I had never really tried anything on the new Rebel 500 platform or 300. I kind of already knew what they were about, and knew just a smidge about them because I watched all the press release on them and everything. And you know, I got to thinking, this is going to be a bike I'm going to use as my commuter bike, my everyday jump on, get into town, and have some fun motorcycle with. So I went home, thought about it, because I actually was already ready to go on the Yamaha deal, and got to pondering a little bit more and called up Mr. Cody the next day and said, "Sir, I would like to see what we could do on the Rebel instead. I know it's still in the crate and all that, but you know, I just want to, I want something for everyday use, something that is easy to use, fun, pure motorcycle. This one is about as pure as you can get. I mean, except for the fact it's liquid cooled. Some people would not like that and feel injected. This one's pretty dang pure. There's no ABS, there's no nothing on it. Stripped down, absolutely basic, and that's what I like about motorcycles, and that's the same as the SR400. So stripped down, it doesn't even have an electric starter. But let's be honest here, the SR400 only has horsepower into the 20s, whereas this little bad boy actually has 46 horsepower or somewhere in there. So as an everyday use, especially here in Oklahoma, I mean, just a couple of days ago we had 111. I mean, that little air-cooled 400cc, yeah, at motion would be okay, but it would still start to try to cook even at highway speeds. And, you know, the more I thought about it, I'm kind of a heavier dude, so I need a little bit more locomotion in the engine. So, that's where this came from, the Rebel 500 idea. It was A, cheaper, more modern, liquid-cooled for this area, fuel injected, of course, so is the SR400. And I mean, just an all-around fun little bike, and went ahead and just bought it blind. Rode it the first time I got to ride it was literally on the way home from the dealership, and here we are a couple months into this, 1,000 miles after, and I am not sad about the decision at all. I still would love an SR400. I mean, that's a bike I could turn into a big heavy scrambler and have some fun with that. You know, there's some modifications you can do with it. But this bike here is absolutely just a pleasure to ride. I mean, it's a very flickable chassis. I mean, yes, there's some shortcomings. Yes, the suspension does bottom out a little bit. And that doesn't matter if you're lighter like my wife, who barely weighs over 100 pounds, or if you're heavier like me. It still bounces quite a bit because the suspension is very soft for a motorcycle. And, I mean, the seat is terrible, but the thing is, I've been riding for so long that numb rear doesn't really bother me as much as some people. So, you know, I can go a whole tank of gas on this motorcycle, get up, put some gas in it, stretch for a moment, get back on it, and keep going. and have really no issue with it. And you know, it's been perfect for that. I've actually taken it on a couple of those longer trips. I've been on her for 4 hours straight after just a tank of gas here and there, and you know, I didn't mind it at all. She held up very admirably. The first service on these motorcycles are actually very, very easy to do, especially if you're handy yourself, and this is in the manual. It is literally just put some oil in it, change your filter, and check your chain, make sure the tension's good, lube it up. Done. Such an easy first service for a motorcycle. Usually there's a lot of other things, especially like when you're coming from the Harley world. The first service is like the biggest thing in the world because you're tightening chassis bolts, you're checking the belt, making sure it's fine, usually resetting it because it's stretched a smidge. You're lubing up every component here and there and everywhere. I still recommend doing that even if you're on a first service. Just go ahead and hit some lube on the points and everything, on the cables and all that. You want to make sure your cables are good. But I mean, it's a cheap proposition when it's that easy to do and you're handy yourself. It's really easy to just go buy oil. I bought oil for I think $32 altogether with the filter and all. And of course I already had chain lube for other bikes, so I didn't have to worry about that. Put her in my garage, lifted her up, did some work on her, and got her back out the door in about an hour. I mean, not a bad way to spend the beginning part of a Saturday, and then went out riding with her all day that day. And I mean, I cannot be happier. This has been a great motorcycle. I mean, my complaints seriously are only still the seat and the suspension being soft. Everything else about this motorcycle has just been a breeze and wonderful. I mean, I love riding her to work every day. She gets on the highway just fine. Yeah, she'll buzz a little bit. I mean, she's not a very big displacement motorcycle, so when you're kind of giving her a mission like at the interstate, she'll buzz a little bit at you, but you know what? She'll hold 70, 80 miles an hour all day long and not really complain about it that much, even with me on it. Fastest I've ever got her to was 101. Of course, I'm not sure if this is accurate or not. I mean, one thing about digital gauges, you're usually not as accurate as some others, so I still need to check that. I need to get my Garmin Verb out here and attach it to it and play that game and see how she does there. But man, if you guys are really thinking about using a Rebel for every day, I mean, there's some saddlebags and stuff you can buy for it in a back rack. You can take off the fender with 4 bolts and make her a bobber and just go around town and play. I mean, this thing, you can outfit it for everyday grocery getting or just everyday looking good, having fun with friends. I mean that's what this bike was for. Then Honda, you guys did a great job on it. I mean, this is a fantastic motorcycle. I've been enjoying it. Been just absolutely thrilled with it, and despite being bought blind and kind of unknown. And why do people do this? I mean, come on, folks. You know that motorcyclists are coming. That is dangerous. Luckily, it's not a turn. But back to it. Man, I cannot be any more happy with it. The fuel economy has been great. I've been getting into the 60s really easily and consistently through mixed riding, through city and highway. I have never been able to do a straight highway run to see if she gets better. But, I mean, this thing has just been an absolute joy and pleasure to ride. So this is just an update of the 1,000 miles roughly from an owner of a Rebel 500 2017 model, but it is the same as the 18. Nothing's changed. So if you guys are looking at one right now, man, I tell you what, this is a great bike. If you're an experienced rider and you've got a big tourer in your garage and you want something to just scoot around town with, you would not be unhappy with this motorcycle. You'd have fun with it. You'd be able to play with it, chop it up, make it your own, and goof off and just be absolutely happy. At any rate, Rabid Hedgehog here. We'll catch you on that next ride.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to support by liking, commenting, subscribing, and checking out my Patreon and Teespring pages. Have a good one, folks. Catch you on that flip side.